Welcome to another episode of Metal Mastermind. So about a week ago, we shared some tips and strategies with you in how to write music that doesn't sound like any other band or artist, including the music that you've already written, because this is kind of a trap that us musicians can fall into. Well, part two, we're going to apply these concepts to vocals, which is arguably the most important part of your song and your music. So we're going to share some strategies here that's really going to help you find more of that originality and find your own unique voice that doesn't sound like anyone else. One of the most challenging things about being a metal vocalist, or really a singer in general, is sounding like you and not sounding like someone else. To me, the worst thing someone can say is, hey, you sound just like that other vocalist. Well, you don't want to do that. You want to sound like you. You want your own authentic and original sound. So these three strategies that we're about to go over right now, they're going to help you tremendously overcome sounding like someone else and really help you bring out that original and unique voice that you already have. We're just going to help push that out for you, okay? Now, real quick before we get into these tips, I want to let you know we have a metal vocal course available on the Metal Mastermind platform here. This course was created by and is taught by metal vocal coach Elizabeth DeDeuce. I'll have a link in the description of this video where you can learn more about how Metal Vocal Virtuoso can help you take your vocals to that next level. Now, this first tip is going to sound like a no-brainer, hence the title of this video here, but we're going to dig a little deeper into this, and what we're going to bring out here is really going to help you. But tip number one is don't try to sound like someone else. Don't try to mimic what another singer is doing or how they sound or their technique or any of that. Now, we all have our own influences, and I'll share one of mine. I was always a huge fan of James Hetfield's voice in the early Metallica albums. I love that, and naturally my voice sort of gravitated towards that unknowingly, and that's kind of okay. That's kind of okay if that happens, because we are a collection of our influences. Whether you play an instrument or sing, that's going to naturally come out. What I'm saying here is don't try to mimic that. Don't consciously say, well, I need to sound like James Hetfield or Dave Mustaine or Floyd Jansen or Alyssa Whitelutz, any of these singers. Don't try to sound like these people, okay? They have their voice. They've already done it. There's no need for you to try to do what they've already done. What the world needs musically is for you to sound like you. Again, you'll have some of those influences naturally come out, but what I'm saying is don't make an attempt to do that. And these next two tips I'm going to share with you, they're actually going to help you with this first tip here. What we're going to go through is going to kind of force you out of trying to sound like someone else, even subconsciously. Tip number two, and this is going to sound like a no-brainer as well, but I'd be willing to bet we all skip this. We know we need to do it, but we don't do it on a regular basis. You need to, on a regular basis, consistent basis, practice your skills, practice your warm-ups, practice different vocal patterns. You need to use your voice on a regular basis and go through, even if the scales are kind of boring, go through those exercises, I'd say on a daily basis, but at least on a several times a week basis, like I'd say no less than 4 times a week. What this is going to do is going to help you bring out more of your natural voice, because when you're practicing these scales and these patterns, okay, when you're going through these, you're not trying to sound like anyone else. You're just going through the patterns. So this also helps you stay on key when you go to sing and go to perform, because you've gone through these patterns, you're hitting those specific notes. This is going to help you just be a better overall vocalist. So one of the things I'm doing right now is I actually have Elizabeth's course, the Metal Vocal Virtuoso, and she provides a wealth of different exercises and skills for you to go to, some warm-up patterns. So those are really helping me not only stay on key and enhance my vocals, but also bring out my natural voice. Because again, when you're going through these exercises and patterns and skills, you're not trying to sound like someone else. You're just going through the exercises, so your natural voice is coming out. And when you expand on that, okay, when you start to expand on that, you start singing more of those growls or start singing your songs that natural voice that you've been working on during this time of consistent practice, again, that will naturally come out more and more every single time. Tip number 3, and of course we save the best and most powerful vocal tip that we could ever give you for the last tip here, okay? This is truly going to just rocket launch your vocal skills to that next level and levels beyond that. It's also going to help bring out more authenticity and that more unique style that you're continuously developing, okay? So vocal tip number 3 is going to be, don't box yourself into just one little style of singing. Don't do that. And a lot of us metal singers, we have a tendency to do that. Let's take death metal, for example. If you're in a death metal band and that's primarily what you do, you probably don't sing clean very often. What I would encourage you to do, even if you don't want clean vocals in your music, I would encourage you to still practice in your clean voice, because it's just going to make you a better overall singer. Not just a death metal vocalist, not just a tiny little box, but broaden your skill set and enhance your actual singing voice along with that. And believe it or not, that in turn will help enhance your death metal vocals. If you're a clean singer and that's all you do is clean vocals, even if you're in a metal band, a lot of metal bands just have clean vocals, I would encourage you to, even if you don't want to integrate some growls here and there or some death metal or some screams or anything like that, maybe you don't want that in your music. Maybe you do. Hey, try it. It might sound cool. Or again, maybe you don't want it. There's no rule here, but I would encourage you when you practice to kind of push your voice and just push yourself just a little bit out of your comfort zone and try some different things with your voice. Again, even if you don't use those particular vocal styles in your songs and in your music, just learning the multiple subgenres of metal and styles of singing is going to enhance your voice overall. And really that's the ultimate goal for all of us vocalists. We want to enhance our voice in general, and this is just one very powerful tip that can help you. Now I'll give you a couple examples here. So let's take Tony Kakko from Sonata Arctica. So he's definitely not a death metal singer. However, there's one particular song called End of This Chapter, and it's almost kind of ballady, but he does this just really awesome death metal growl in one part of the song. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, giving your music those dynamics. He just does it that one time, then pulls it back, doesn't do it again, and you're like, what was that? And it just makes the song, even that one little part. Now, if you're in a death metal band, maybe you don't sing clean, but what I would say is try to integrate some different textures of death metal. I'll give you an example. Actually, it's one of my own songs called Final Rain off my album Masterpiece. The very last track on there, it's full on death metal, but there's one part that goes a little bit higher, almost into that false chord type of style, and it just gives you a different character in the vocal style there. So that's something to think about as well. That way your vocals don't sound exactly the same throughout the entire song, every song. Another example, or some examples rather, are bands like Epica, bands like Nightwish and Delane. These are bands with female vocalists, but they have such a broad array of techniques that they use in their songs that just give the songs, again, those dynamics. And this is really what you want. This is what captivates the listener, which that's what it's all about at the end of the day. On that note, Elizabeth actually teaches you how to sing multiple styles of metal in her course, Metal Vocal Virtuoso. Again, we have a link in the description of this video to go check that out. You can learn more about how that can really help you enhance your vocal skills. Lastly, I'll say that being a vocalist, of really any genre, not just metal, it can be arguably the most challenging part of being an artist or in a band, because the vocalists, well, they're front and center. All eyes are on the vocalist. Sure, we're playing metal, so the guitar riffs and all that, you have to take that into account. People love the guitar riffs, they love the double bass drumming. Even a lot of metal songs have some really cool bass riffs in there, so yeah, people are paying attention to that. But the vocalist is always going to get the most attention because of the vocal style. People either love it or they don't like it. Oftentimes that's why they will listen to or not listen to a band. And let me just add this in real quick. It's okay if everyone doesn't like your particular vocal style. Don't let that deter you from singing your style. Remember, the goal, going back to tip number one, find your own voice. Develop your own unique style. That's what you need to do as a vocalist. Think of bands like Megadeth, a very good example. Dave Mustaine, some people just totally do not like Dave's voice and can't get over it, so they don't listen to Megadeth. But he's also built a huge global fan base with Megadeth, you know, almost like a religion. So a lot of people love his voice. That's what I want you to go for. That's what I want you to think about as you're singing. You want to sing good, okay? You want to be good at your craft, and that takes practice. We've talked about in these 3 tips here. But at the same time, don't try to please everyone. Not everyone's going to like your style. That's okay, as long as you have some people that do like your style and you can build upon that, okay? So that's very important. That's kind of like a bonus tip there. So I want you to think about these things as you're singing and as you're practicing, as you're being consistent with your practice and working on your vocals, developing your own style. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give this a thumbs up and please make sure you're subscribed. Also, feel free to share this video on your social media or email it to people or share it with your friends, tell people about it. We're really trying to build this community of metal musicians. That's what Metal Mastermind is all about. We are the education platform for metal musicians, and we truly have a huge heart for all of you and want to help you progress in whatever you do, whether it's singing, playing an instrument, writing songs, production, whatever. That's what we're here for. So we really appreciate you taking the time to watch our videos. And real quick, again, the link to Metal Vocal Virtuoso, our ultimate metal vocal course, that's in the description of this video, and I'll also put it up here. You'll see it up here somewhere, so you can click on that and learn more about how that course can help you take your vocal skills to that next level.